I travelled up to Dublin recently from West Cork. It was a last minute thing, and it was to facilitate something my son was about, and he booked me a room in a very good value hotel just south of the river. And when I pulled the curtains in the morning, I was very pleasantly surprised to see the customs house across the river from me. Anybody who's interested in his history can Google it, but it featured in a daring attempt by De Valera and quite a few volunteers in the War of Independence. Just to the right, appearing now in front of the financial services sector, is a clump of trees, and within that is a sculpture by my very good friend Tony O'Malley. We did a documentary last year on 7 of Tony's major sculptures across the country. It's not for a general release, we'll call it, yet, but soon we'll have it up on YouTube. You arrive at Houston Station to the east of the city when you come up from Cork. And by the way, the travelling by train, the 3 hours from Cork, is absolutely glorious. The only way to travel. And making your way from Houston in towards the city, you pass right by the National Museum Collins Barracks, as opposed to the National Museum in Kildare Street. And it's a magnificent set of buildings. Of course, historically, it was the centre of British military power in Dublin. Now it's the centre of what I would like to regard as cultural power. And my main reason for visiting here is to see the Asgard, the pleasure sailing boat built around the turn of the last century that featured in talk about daring, one of the most daring episodes of 1916. The landing of 1,000 German Mauser rifles with 60,000 rounds of ammunition into Dublin Howth in 1916. I should point out that I don't intend this as historical video, although I could probably stop on one event and talk for several hours on it. No, I want to give you an impressionistic, quick view of what it was like to visit Dublin in or over a couple of days in January 2023. So I'll quickly flick through some of the images from the Collins Barracks collections and rooms and so on. There was a lot to see. I think I spent more than 3 hours there in total, and it really was not enough. I didn't spend that much time with the Asgard because I had spent many hours there before, and I really do think it is one of the great things to see in Dublin. And of course, like almost all our museums and galleries, it's free. Now, everywhere I went, I met visitors from abroad, and all the time they were so impressed with the wonderful museums and galleries, only a handful of which, of course, I saw over a few days, revisited over a few days, and they were astonished at how they were all free. And then it was time to find my hotel. And it took a little bit of finding, but very well worthwhile when I did. And the service from the mostly Asian staff was spectacular. So there you have it now, staycity.com. And now To plan the evening's entertainment, I contacted the Abbey Theatre. And very, very, very sorrowfully, I miss the very last seat for the performance that night of The Weir by Conor McPherson. Now, I really wanted to see this play, but of course I should have been more organised and booked well in advance. But I don't know, I'm almost addicted to doing things last minute. So I asked what the procedure was for cancellations. Anyway, to cut a long and fairly dramatic story short, maybe I should do a separate video on this. I got that evening at about 28 minutes past 7, 2 minutes before the performance began, I got the very last single ticket. And it cost only €13. It was in the front stalls, and I actually have no idea why it was so cheap. I mean, I was obviously an old age pensioner and stuff. They never asked me for anything. They just said €13. And I was the happiest camper in the whole of Dublin as I slumped in beside what turned out to be a very interesting, very, very lovely Italian woman and watched the play. The play was terrific, and I capped off the experience by inviting the Italian woman to drink in the Flowing Tide pub across the way. And what a lovely atmosphere that was there too. My first day in Dublin in several years was very satisfying. And the following day, I just had 48 hours altogether for this trip, was even better. And I'll tell you more about that next week. Thank you. As she rolled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.